Hey everybody, I want to welcome you into this very special second ever episode of the EasterPod. I'm your host, Corey Easterday, and it is so good to have you in and to have you listening to this episode. On today's show, we are going to be talking with my incredible and talented and awesome wife, Megan Easterday, about her work with the business that we co-own, Easterday Creative. And perhaps predictably, Megan and I ended up chatting for a good 45, 50 minutes. There's a lot to talk about when you're married, and it was just really cool to connect in a podcast format and get to talk to each other in that way, and I think you'll really enjoy our conversation. Before we get into our episode with Megan, I just want to remind you to check out the EasterPod on social media. You can find us at the EasterPod on Twitter and Instagram, search the EasterPod on Facebook, and if you want to email the show, you can do so by emailing theeasterpod@gmail.com. And definitely be sure to check us out on all major podcast platforms. We are officially up on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn. There's some other apps I know that we're up on. So definitely be sure to interact with us and give us a listen. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe or follow on whatever podcast platform you prefer. And if you feel so inclined, please be sure to rate the show and review the show. I've already been getting lots of messages from people and just a lot of support and encouragement. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show so far, and I'm really appreciative of the great response and the great feedback. It's been really affirming to me in starting this podcasting journey to keep doing it and keep pushing forward. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for your support. And please be sure to subscribe or follow and rate and review. Now, if you're new to the EasterPod, I want to assure you that this is not, contrary to popular belief, a show that is about the holiday of Easter. But I do like to use the wordplay that my last name, Easterday, affords me. So in the spirit of that, I came up with a couple new segments for the show that I want to test out here in the intro before we get to my conversation with Megan. Now, as I promised in the first episode, I like to cover a variety of topics. I pay a lot of attention, perhaps more than I should, one could argue, to things like pop culture and sports and TV and movies and all sorts of stuff. And I have a couple names, like I said, that I want to try out for a few segments. Now, when I talk about things, I'm not always going to name stuff or use the wordplay, but I figure this is our second episode. Why not have some fun? If you have any ideas for segments in the future or any feedback on these segments, definitely be sure to reach out and let me know. I'm always open to crowdsourcing and finding good ideas that way. So this first segment we're going to try out is called Easter eggs. And an Easter egg could be a hidden fact or idea from the episode you're about to hear. In this case, our very first Easter egg is from every episode of the EasterPod, and this Easter egg just so happens to be the fact that the intro music and the outro music as well is from my old band, Elijah Wild. We were called August for about the first 4 years of our existence. I know, what a great name. Thank you. And the last 3 years we were together, we changed our name to Elijah Wild, did kind of a rebranding, and our 2010 CD that we released, The Epic Conquest of a Dream, the intro music is the title track, The Epic Conquest of a Dream. I chose it, because it's a rockin' song, and I love it. It sounds great. It's one of the things it's one of the many songs we did that I am very proud of, and I know that we as a band are proud of. And the lyrics itself is about the epic conquest of a dream. At the time we were writing it, about our dream of making music together. And I think it applied not just because it's a great song, but because of the lyrics to this podcast. It's the epic conquest of yet another dream. And the outro music is called Decrescendo, and it was an entirely instrumental kind of studio track that we did on that album. So that's your very first ever Easter egg. Elijah Wild, my old band, that I'm proud to have been a part of, provides the intro music and the outro music for the EasterPod. The second wordplay segment I wanted to try out is called Easter Island. And no, Easter Island is not a remote volcanic island in Polynesia. Easter Island is where I want to take a couple minutes to talk about something that is on my mind or that I'm paying attention to in the world of pop culture and sports this week. And so for our first Easter Island, there are 3 TV shows I wanted to point out that I'm really excited about that are either on right now or that will be coming out and starting soon. The first one is Better Call Saul, and Better Call Saul is on AMC. Season 5 starts this week. It will have likely already started by the time you hear this. And Better Call Saul is a spin-off. It's a prequel to Breaking Bad. So if you watch the show Breaking Bad and you haven't seen Better Call Saul, I think that you'll really love it. I've heard some people argue, I've seen some people write that they even think that Better Call Saul is perhaps better than Breaking Bad. I don't know about that, but I know that to me it's equally as genius of a show. And so again, season 5 starts this week and I'm very much looking forward to it. Bob Odenkirk does an incredible job in the lead role of Saul Goodman / Jimmy McGill. And if you need to catch up on Better Call Saul, I know that the first 4 seasons are on Netflix. It's one of just my favorite TV shows right now in general, so definitely check it out. The second show I wanted to talk about is called McMillions, and McMillions is on HBO. It's actually a 6-part documentary series about the McDonald's Monopoly game, and specifically a scam that occurred with the McDonald's Monopoly game between 1989, the year yours truly was born, and 2001. Growing up, I definitely remember looking forward to when the Monopoly game was at McDonald's every year. And so it was pretty surprising, honestly, to find out that many of the high-value winners of the McDonald's Monopoly game were all a part of a scam. I won't spoil it any more for you. Definitely have to check out McMillions on HBO. They even have a companion podcast with it that's really good. And it's one of the things in February, which is traditionally kind of a downtime for things like TV and movies, that I've been enjoying right now. So you'll definitely want to check that out. And the last show I wanted to mention is Westworld. Westworld is another HBO show. And just as a side note, HBO in general, in my opinion, has some of the best content in TV and documentaries and movies out there. I really encourage you to get HBO if you don't have it already. There's so much good stuff on there, but Westworld Season 3 is going to be starting on March 15th. I just watched the trailer before I started recording, and it looks incredible. Evan Rachel Wood is a phenomenal actress. She is amazing in this show. Aaron Paul is going to be in this season, speaking of the Breaking Bad connection, and Tessa Thompson, and so many incredible people and actors and actresses are in this show. So definitely check out Westworld Season 3 on HBO. You can catch up on the first 2 seasons if you have HBO. But those are some shows, Better Call Saul, McMillions, Westworld, just that I'm really excited about right now and are just quality shows that I think everyone should be watching. Now, before we fly away from Easter Island on our oceanic flight, that's another Easter egg. That's a Lost reference for those of you that may not have got that. But before we leave Easter Island, just in general, when it comes to sports, there's a lot I've been thinking about and enjoying. Again, February is another downtime for sports, but one of the things that's been cool is the start of the XFL this year. And the XFL, this iteration of it, I've really been enjoying it. It's nothing like the first iteration, because the first iteration came out in 1999. It is owned by Vince McMahon currently and was owned by Vince McMahon in 1999. But I was 10 years old when the first iteration of the XFL was released, and it was just more about the spectacle. It was more about really trying to stand out from the NFL in pretty extreme ways, and it felt more like you were watching an extension of the WWE. But this version is just doing so much creative stuff with the rules and with the gameplay and with the TV show itself. They have reporters interviewing players right after plays. You can hear the coaches mic'd up. The level of creativity with this new XFL is just off the charts, and it's been so cool to watch. I personally have been rooting for the DC Defenders out of Washington, mainly because Cardale Jones is their quarterback, and he's an Ohio State guy. He's easy to root for, and as a result, it's been cool to root for the DC Defenders. There's only 8 XFL teams right now. There's 4 on the East Coast, 4 on the West Coast, and I'm sure that if the league is successful, they'll expand to more. Hopefully, I saw on Twitter there's a campaign for XFL in Canton, Ohio. that would be incredible. They would be my new favorite team. Sorry to DC. I would still root for Cardale, but getting an XFL team in Ohio or here in Charlotte would just be incredible. But the players are really highly skilled in the XFL and are already creating highlight-worthy plays and excitement. It's just a solid marriage of pure football and entertainment, and I've really been enjoying it. I'm also, lastly here, just excited for the remainder of the NBA season. We got some more games to be played. I do subscribe to League Pass. NBA League Pass is a great thing to have. It's cool to watch. Well, first of all, it's great to be able to watch the Cleveland Cavaliers being down here in the Charlotte area. The bummer is I don't get to really watch Hornets games because I don't have cable, so I need to get to a Hornets game here soon in person, actually. They've been a fun team this year, I think. Both they and the Cavs have struggled to win games, but both have a lot of young talent, and I'm just excited for the rest of the season. I do have to say, though, as much as I look forward to watching the rest of the games and the playoffs and seeing the Lakers or Clippers inevitably win the title, or Bucks, you could say have a good shot. Personally, I'm rooting for the Lakers because of the LeBron factor. I am a shameless big-time LeBron James fan, and I will absolutely root for the Lakers this year because I want him to get his 4th ring, and I think it would be really cool to have him be a player that wins a championship on 3 different teams. But obviously would have preferred him to stay with the Cavs, but since he's on the Lakers, let's go Lakers. Sentence I never thought I'd say in my entire life. But it's been so hard, honestly, to get into it this year because I don't know. On my notes here, I just have written down what the heck is going on with the Cavs. They just are going through another coach. John Beeline resigned, and I'm not going to get into all that because I don't have some of the expertise or some of the insider knowledge, but from everything I've been reading and studying on it, it seems like their coach, John Beeline, not being with the team has been a long time in the making this season, and I think that's really sad and unfortunate because I listened to him on an episode of the EasterPod when he was first hired as the head coach of the Cavs, and just to hear his background in college and his pedigree. I know it's traditionally and historically hard for a college coach to transition to the NBA, with the exception of somebody like a Brad Stevens, but it just seemed like he had the age and the maturity and the pedigree as a coach to help this young roster rebuild and to help kind of lead the Cavs into a better and brighter future. And it just seems that there were a lot of points where things kind of went off the rails, and JB Bickerstaff is going to take over in the interim, and he was being groomed to be the next head coach anyway, by all accounts. So we'll see where it goes. I'm just hoping that the Cavs can continue to build around this young core, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and just kind of move, literally and metaphorically move the ball forward and take the next step they need to take as a team to get back to that championship contention, because we don't have LeBron, but I don't think that means that the future has to be that bleak for the Cavs. We have a title in Cleveland, Ohio, which is incredible, so why not go grab a few more? Before we get into my conversation with Megan, some of you out there like finally, or you just skipped ahead through the whole intro. That's totally fine. I would want to skip past me to make sure I was listening to Megan anyway, so I totally get it. But just want to thank you again for listening. And before we chat with Megan, I want to, one more time, we'll talk about this toward the end of our conversation, but I want to encourage you to follow Megan and her work at Easterday Creative on social media, and check out her website, EasterDayCreative.com. She's incredibly talented, and I am very excited for you to hear our conversation. So, ladies and gentlemen, Megan Easterday. Well, I am very excited to be joined today by the First Lady of the EasterPod. Some of you even called her the EasterLady, my wonderful and beautiful wife, Megan Easterday. How you doing today, babe?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great, especially considering that we just picked up some Chick-fil-A and some Starbucks before recording today. I think that was a very good call on our part.
I think it was all right. Stella really enjoyed the Starbucks run.
She did enjoy the Starbucks run. That's one of our favorite things to do, is to take Stella through like a Chick-fil-A or a Starbucks and get her those like puppy latte things. She gets to eat up all the whipped cream.
I like calling them puppuccinos instead.
Puppuccinos.
Yeah.
I thought what was
Puppuccino.
I thought what was really funny is how you were eating some of the whipped cream before you gave it to Stella.
Well, I mean, free whipped cream, so needed to get some of that.
I get it. I never turned down free whipped cream. I totally understand. Never turned down free food.
We know this.
Yeah, that's true. It's very widely known about me that I am a human garbage disposal, and if people have things left over that they don't want to eat, that they try to give them to me.
Yeah, I know that you're not feeling well if you won't eat my leftovers or my remaining dinner or lunch.
True. Yeah, that's a very surefire way to tell if I'm not feeling good is if I'm not hungry, because I'm typically always hungry. So,
always.
Yeah. Well, I know that we are married, but it is still, I view it as a treat to be able to talk with you about some of this stuff, about what you're doing with Easterday Creative, our business that we own together, and about some of the other stuff you have going on. So why don't you actually just start and tell our dozens of listeners at this point.
Dozens.
You're right. That's being generous. Why don't you tell
our 5
listeners? Our 5 to 7 listeners what you currently do for work or just some of the things you're involved in right now?
So Easterday Creative, I started in 2016. Is that when we made it official?
Yeah, I believe it was March 2016.
Yeah. Well, I think we started the process earlier than that, but when you're registering a business, it can be kind of wonky sometimes. So 2016, I decided I wanted to do photography and graphic design, offer that to people kind of as a side job. I'd always wanted to own my own business. Never was really entirely sure what it would look like. But then I really started loving doing a lot of photography. And part of my job was graphic design, and my background is public relations and marketing. So it kind of felt like a good fit. So I started doing that with my, older DSLR that I had. It wasn't the best camera, but wasn't the worst. And I'm still grateful for the people who took a chance on me even back then. They started paying me because I look back and it's amusing. It's not horrible, but it's kind of amusing now to see.
I remember some of those early shoots going on those with you, and I remember feeling very much at the time like I had no clue what I was doing, but I imagine even though you had the skill and the talent, you may have felt the same way to some level. Yeah,
I mean, I've been using cameras since I was in elementary school. I mean, I had film cameras when I was in middle school, and I had always been very excited about capturing people's stories. But when I joined the Air Force Reserve after high school, I actually had the opportunity to really learn how to use a professional camera. And that's kind of where my love for capturing people's stories in a kind of more photojournalist style began. So yeah, now we're 4 years in and I'm doing this full time. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you get to photograph or meet or do something related to the president when you were in the Air Force?
Yeah. Where we were I guess every base the president will come in every so often, but we were in Youngstown, Ohio, and we've had several presidents come through, but I was working and photographing with an intense telephoto lens, President Obama. So that was really cool. I was really jealous because our manager, basically that's what he was, got to actually go meet President Obama. And we were like really far back behind a cordon and, waving from afar, basically.
Yeah, that's still pretty cool though, that you got to be a part of that. What inspired you to want to start Easterday Creative aside from having somewhat of a background? You mentioned storytelling, your passion for photography. What really deep down kind of got you to say, it's time for me to step out on my own, start my own business, and what motivated you to really give it a go in that way?
Well, I had stepped out of the corporate world and public relations and marketing. Just wasn't my cup of tea. And then I had been working in nonprofits And I kind of had the flexibility to do it. Because before then, and when you're working full time, it's almost impossible. I shouts to the people who do this as the true side gig, because I just cannot. But when I was working kind of more part time, I was like, this would be a great way to earn a little bit more income, but also really kind of figure out what my passions were and what I would want it to look like. And quite frankly, I probably wouldn't have done it if you, Corey, hadn't kind of nudged me a little bit more and given me a bit more confidence in doing that. So thanks.
You're welcome. It was easy to give you that confidence because I knew back then, as I know now, that you are incredibly talented as you make weird faces at me because you have a really hard time handling a compliment, especially from your husband. But it's true. You then had the talent to go out on your own, start your own business. And it's been really cool from my perspective just to be able to be a part of that, in some regards, sitting more on the sideline and watching, and sometimes being really involved and pitching in and helping out. I kind of mentioned when I did this first episode how cool it's been that we've been able to start photographing weddings together. I found myself enjoying that a lot more than I thought I would. And much as I am on this adventure of learning about podcasting, and we're talking about it and you're getting to learn some things as I learn them, I found it was the same with photography, in that you being able to teach me has been and is a really cool experience. And I feel like thanks to knowing you and being able to have someone like you as a teacher, I've been able to pick up photography as a skill again. And you're a really good teacher.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awkward turtle.
Okay. Welcome to our daily conversations. Why don't you talk a little bit about the other stuff you're doing right now in addition to Easterday Creative?
So, as some people may know who are friends and family, we moved from Ohio to the Carolinas about 1.5 years ago, and moving a business to a new state is not for the faint of heart. So True. There's been, I mean, as you know, there's been quite a few challenges, finding new business, even with, the background that I have, knowing how to market myself, in this day and age. And it's not a complaint. There's just a lot more photographers out there. And there's a lot of specifically wedding photographers, in the Carolinas. It's very popular. Even if you're not from here, it's a very popular area to get married. So, there's a lot of people who've been kind of grabbing onto this camera. So I kind of decided, as I was wanting to meet more people and start getting into more brand photography, and tell people stories of small businesses and all of that, I decided to start working for a company called Skillpop. They originated in the Charlotte area, and they go throughout all of Charlotte. They're in Raleigh, Durham. I mean, they're in Nashville and Atlanta. But they essentially bring teachers in to teach the community new skills. And they're just little pop-up classes that happen at breweries and hair studios and things like that. And it's been kind of cool. My role is that of a class manager. So honestly, all I do is go set up the classes and make sure that the students are happy and, having fun.
Yeah. You seem to have really enjoyed doing that and have been able to network a lot through that. Yep. As you said, it can be hard moving to a new area. So you getting to meet people has certainly been of great benefit, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, when we first moved here, we lived, with mom and dad, and they
you're not supposed to share that part.
Oh, whatever. It is what it is. What are you going to do? They had a big enough space, and Stella's obsessed with them, so it worked out.
We're actually in their space right now.
Yes, we are.
Even though we have our own apartment. Yeah,
well, unfortunately, we have a 2-year-old that stomps above our heads all the time, so it's not soundproofed. But anyway, it was really hard living out where my parents live because they're not really close to a lot of places, and getting into Charlotte would often take 45 minutes. So we weren't really getting to meet any new people other than their neighbors who ironically have moved. The ones we really liked have moved away. So I kind of decided that I needed to find a way to connect with more people, and I have. And I've gotten to work with some pretty cool artists and other business owners who I'm actually going to be doing brand work with. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you mentioned that in our own conversations that you're really wanting to do more work with brands and you're really excited about doing more brand photography. Why is that something you're wanting to hone in on specifically?
I think, I'm very much an internal processor, and sometimes I don't really let myself process a lot, but
I'm an external processor, so it keeps things spicy.
Keeps things spicy, as the kids would say.
I'm so happy you said spicy.
I hate that.
That's
I don't
great.
actually say that in real life because it
No,
bothers
she does,
me.
and I do too.
No, I literally don't.
You v much do.
No, I v much do not.
All right, agree, disagree.
All right, I'm whatever. I'm frazzled and I forgot what I was saying.
I'm so sorry. This is why this is the interesting part about me talking with you, interviewing you as your husband, is I have the distinct ability to frazzle you like no one else. So you were saying about why you love working with brands.
I'm also a small business owner, and I know the struggles of getting, especially when you're brand new, getting your name out there to, make an income, work for yourself. And so working with these brands and small businesses, I've been able to kind of give them, kind of a foot up over maybe some other people within their industry, just with really good, images that I take of them. Because it's not just, the typical headshots that you think of when you think of a photographer taking pictures of people, the shoulder tilted toward the camera and like the big grin that is not someone's normal smile and all of that. I oftentimes will go into their homes, typically because that's oftentimes where their studio space is. I'll go into their office and I'll just take photos of them doing their thing in their space. Obviously, there'll be some of them smiling at the camera because that's been one of the things that social media likes. They like people smiling at the camera, even though there's the trend of like the very moody, not looking, all that jazz. But
those are my favorite poses to do.
I know. You're really good at them too.
Thanks.
And your logo that I created, you have that lovely little looking away pose.
Yeah, that would be a great thing to mention, is that you did create the logo for the EasterPod, which I was really appreciative of.
You're welcome.
It looks really great, just like you.
Gross.
Okay.
But yeah, so giving them those images to really amplify their brand, and telling their story, not just, like I said, the headshots, but actually showing their process. For example, today, I worked with a gal who does chain stitching on a vintage 1800s machine, which is really cool. And
I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds very creative.
Barely know what any of that means, but it was really cool.
What was the business?
It's called Lil Stitches.
That's awesome.
A lot of L's. Madeline, she's really very sweet. Very unique craft that she does. She actually made me an amazing Mount Rainier rendition, and I kind of teared up a little bit because I love me some Mount Rainier.
It was really good. Madeline did an incredible job on that.
Heck yeah, she did.
Yeah. So you're just working with her today, and
yeah, that was one of my most recent ones. But yeah, telling that story from beginning to end, I think really helps them show who they are in a unique way.
Yeah, for sure. And you just recently started working for something called the Elopement Co.
Yes. My now friend, who, it's actually weird how alike that we are. You're going to have some fun meeting her soon, hopefully. But Charity Parrish, she started the Elopement Co. a few years ago in Charlotte. Basically, it's a elopement planning service with photography. There's like a variety of things we do. Look it up. It's really wonderful. But when I applied to work with her, I was just applying to be an associate photographer. She's grown that much in the last year. I mean, she was telling me how much she's grown. It was pretty cool. So after I interviewed with her, she actually let me know that she was hiring for a part-time job, basically helping with clients But she said after meeting with me that she thought that I'd be a really good fit for that position. And it just so happened that where Easterday Creative is right now, and, you know, me kind of focusing more on brands, but still really loving working with couples, specifically elopements. I really enjoy elopements. It's just a bit more intimate. You can really capture the emotion of the couple when they're in their own space, and it's just, there's less distractions. She wanted me for the job, and I said, hey, sure, let's do it. And I've been working with her for the last 2 weeks, and it's pretty dang great. Yeah,
you loving it?
I am, actually.
You seem like, I mean, just in general, I mean, you're always a pretty happy person, but you seem...
well.
You are. You got, I mean, you know, you and I are very...
we're easygoing.
We're easygoing, you know, doesn't...
Except when I'm not, because apparently Scorpios are crazy.
Oh, are you a Scorpio?
I've literally seen and heard lately, last week, people are talking trash about Scorpios. I'm like, but it's not me.
Scorpio trash talk Twitter. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, no, the point being, you've just seemed, and getting to work for the Elopement Co. in addition to Easterday Creative, just within the last 6 months, I'd say, and for both of us really, but for you especially, it seems like you've hit your stride a lot more, or just found some more contentment or more fulfillment in the things that you're doing career-wise. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that being a small business owner, it can be really isolating and lonely sometimes, because when you're working from home, especially if you're in a new city, you don't really know a lot of people. You're not really getting out there to meet new people. It's a bit more difficult. I don't know what I've talked with a lot of people, but once you hit your 30s, I've just noticed that it's a bit more difficult to make friends at that age. And it's because people are settling down, different stages of life, maybe. I don't know. But I was feeling lonely, and I realized that I really am a people person, even though I can be very introverted, as you know. Actually got the introvert wine yesterday.
Oh yeah, I thought that was funny. For Valentine's Day, picked up some... Is that the brand name, Introvert?
It's called The Introvert.
The Introvert wine. Shout out to The Introvert wine.
Maybe you'll be our next sponsor.
Yeah, our first sponsor.
Oh, right. But yeah, I have found with Skill Pop and with working with charity, you just feel better mentally. Like, my mental health is just better because I'm around people. I'm not, you know, as much as I love you, I'm not just around you and Stella all day long.
That's fair.
Which, you know, you feed off of each other when you're just feeling tired or in a way. So yeah, it's been great.
That's good. Well, I've been super stoked to be able to see you get more involved in those things, and just doing more creative stuff, working with people. And it's been an inspiration to me, quite honestly, to start this podcast and to kind of step out. You've been extremely encouraging in me doing this, and I'm really glad that we're getting to the day's finally here. We're sitting down and recording an episode together, like we've dreamed of doing and have talked about and thought about. And it's cool how to see, when you see, like, in a marriage, how you know, you kind of feed off each other, like you were saying, how that can happen in a really positive way. Like when you're out there and you're getting to do more photography or more things that are fulfilling to you, I feed off of that in being, like I said, inspired that I can step out and do some more creative things that would be fulfilling to me. So yeah, moving can be tough. Moving was tough for us over the last year and a half in some aspects. I was born and raised Northeast Ohio. 29 years I lived there. You grew up in Washington State, right?
Born in Hawaii. My dad was active duty Navy. My mom met him out there when she moved out there. But I was born in Hawaii. And then he got stationed in Bremerton, Washington. It's across Puget Sound from Seattle. So we were there from late 89 until I think summer of 96. And then we moved to Ohio to be near my mom's side of the family.
And to find your future husband. Yep,
that was my only goal at age 6.
I've been planning my wedding since I was a little boy. There's nothing wrong with that.
I was not, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I was not planning my wedding.
Well, that speaks to why we had a bigger wedding than you wanted because that was more something I wanted. I think you wanted to just go to the beach and
I
have it
wanted
just
to elope.
Yeah, elope. And you work for the
Irony.
elopement co now. Look
Irony.
at that. So you're getting to fulfill your wish and dreams for our wedding through other people's weddings right now and their elopements. So
Living vicariously through their lives.
there you go. But yeah, moving can be tough, as we've learned. So you do get a lot more isolated if you don't know as many people where you move to. Like, we felt more isolated initially. We've certainly made some incredible and wonderful friends in the time that we live down here. We still have all the love in our hearts for all our friends and family in Ohio, and quite honestly, all the friends and family we've been able to connect with. Just last summer, we went on a 35-day road trip. We went to visit your childhood home partly. We went to photograph an elopement that you can talk more about that, but we were gone 35 days. We did a road trip out to, I think we made it as far west as Cape Flattery, which is the northwesternmost point in the contiguous U.S., which is a mouthful to say. And we went to Oregon and Portland for the first time, cut across Idaho and like Colorado and all these places, and just got to connect with so many. We were staying at people's homes, sleeping on their floors.
We were camping a lot too.
We just got to connect with so many awesome people. And to me, it was a really clear picture of, I feel like we've been lucky in that whether it's living in Ohio, being out on the road and traveling, living here, we've been able to connect with some really incredible and amazing and creative people, which is part of the reason we both talked about this podcast, and I've talked about doing it, is to be able to get some of those stories out there. But all in all, it's just been very encouraging, I think, because there's so much unknown when it comes to moving, when it comes to stepping out and trying something new, that to see where things are as I sit here and reflect a year and a half later from moving to a brand new state, and to just hear about all the cool stuff you're going to do now and the people you're going to meet. I just think it's really great. I think we've come a long way, and I'm really pumped about it. I'm happy for us.
Me too.
Not to be too self-congratulatory, but it was a rough go for a while.
Pat on our backs.
Yeah. Talk more about that road trip we took last summer just a little bit. What was it like for you to get to be back in your childhood home where you grew up and to photograph an elopement out there?
It was really wonderful. We were there in July, right? That's when we got there?
Yes, I believe we left around July 4th and got back around August 9th, something like that. Right. Was the whole trip. So
right. We got there like halfway through our road trip, so it's kind of mid-July. And if you're from that area or have been to that area, you kind of know that July and August are likely going to be the warmest times, but it's still kind of a toss-up whether it's going to be rainy or not. And it just so happened to be the absolute perfect weather while we were there. I think it maybe rained a little bit one day.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
But as we were driving into Seattle, and this doesn't happen every day, but Mount Rainier was just like popping up in the distance because the skies were so clear that day.
That was really cool to see.
Yeah, I got a little weepy actually. It was just really, it's not something that I expected. I knew we'd see it, but I had forgotten that's if the clouds were out of the sky that you would see it like that. So that was amazing. And getting to actually go hike on Mount Rainier was, awe-inspiring because we were on some routes that were like almost off of a cliff. So that was entertaining.
That was a blast. And for me, we talked about this quite a bit going out on that trip, but for me, that was a really big deal because I tried to climb Mount Rainier in 2013 with some friends to raise money for Christian Children's Home of Ohio, and got the flu. That we had actually just started dating, and I got
we had just started dating the week before or 2 weeks before or something like that.
Yeah, and you came to pick me up at my house very early to take me to the airport, and couldn't get in, right?
I couldn't. Every door was locked. I think it was 5 a.m. I was already very tired, and I think I was still working at my corporate job at the time, so I had to be able to get home and get ready for work.
Yep.
but you were not answering the phone. I was banging on the front door and the back door, and literally no one in your house of like 4 or 5 people were answering. I'm pretty positive I was throwing rocks at Aaron Shaw's window, which was kind of like weird, and banging, and his dog didn't even hear me. It was just, yeah, we got you to the airport barely in time. The day before, I was even packing your bags for you because you were laying on face down on the floor, like in so much pain.
Oh, I forgot about that. So I was very, very sick before even trying to fly out.
Yes.
That's right. I almost missed my flight, but I made it out there and slept for probably 13 hours the day and night before we were going to go climb, and tried to make it out, and got to the point where I had to duck out. I got to about an hour into climbing up Mount Rainier with the rest of the group and was lagging behind and just couldn't do it anymore. So it was a really big deal to get to go back there and to just do that with you again all those years later, and try doing that again. But that was a really meaningful trip for both of us. And did we visit where you grew up before or after Mount Rainier?
Before, because we went to Rainier right before we drove down to Portland, the day or two before we drove to Portland.
That's right. And so what was it like being back in that area?
It was, I mean, you only remember so much from when you're a kid, but when you grow up, in a place like Washington where you're outdoors quite a bit, you get to go to Mount Rainier, you get to take the ferry across to Seattle. Those are all really memorable things. So it was emotional. I mean, in a good way. It was very exciting for me getting to experience some of these things as an adult who'd actually now have a lot of solidified memories in my brain. And we took a lot of photos. I actually got to use my film camera for taking some photos. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's something else you've been getting into a lot is film, right? You took a whole film class for 6 months.
Yeah, I learned how to develop black and white film. It was really cool. I haven't lately been able to use my camera as much, but I'm actually going to a conference out in California called the Hybrid Co. And it's basically is a conference for photographers who use digital and film, or they just use film, or they just use digital. That's the kind of the term for when someone uses a digital and film camera. It's called hybrid photography.
Yeah, I remember going to that conference with you last May in Nashville. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was funny driving around where you grew up because you were doing hey, I remember when we used to go there, when we used to visit that place, or we bought our dog food there, and we drove by each of you grew up in a couple houses or places out there. We drove by. Yeah,
we drove by to the 2 houses that we lived in. The very first one my parents bought, and then the second one that they bought when we lived out there. That was kind of cool. Some of it was kind of sad because, neighborhoods change, and one part of the neighborhood was just kind of dilapidated and all of that.
Yeah, and it was, we were just driving by slowly, taking pictures or whatever. So
it wasn't creepy for the people who were there.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, and we photographed an elopement, or you photographed the elopement in, what was it, Port Townsend?
Yeah, it was Port Townsend.
Port Townsend? Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what took us out there on that road trip to begin with. So that was cool. Yeah, that was just a very memorable experience. I'm glad we got to do that together. Speaking of travel, just to slip a little promotion in for Easterday Creative, I guess, at this point, but we are very adventurous people, and you're actually going to be hitting the road quite a bit this year, some together, some by yourself. Where are you going this year?
Well, first, I'm going to be going to Southern California. I'll be in Los Angeles and San Diego from February 29th until March 8th. And then I'm going to fly up to Seattle for a couple days, and I'll be there from the 8th to the 10th. And then after that, a few months later, I'm going to Denver to visit some of our really dear friends and my cousin. We actually have a crap ton of friends and family that live out there, but I'll be there in the Denver, Colorado area from May 19th to the 26th. Then I'll be in Greenville, South Carolina, which, it's not that far from where we are, but it's a cute little town, June 20th through 22nd. And then we're going to be in Ohio several times this coming year. I'll be up there the first weekend of April, first weekend of April. And then I'll be there over July 4th weekend. And then I'll be down there or up there. We're down here, whatever. We're south right now. I'll be
Geography.
Geography. I took it. Maybe I did well, maybe I didn't. And then I'll be back there again over after Thanksgiving weekend, basically.
Yeah, that's exciting. And what a lot of that translates to is our dog Stella is going to get a lot of time alone with Daddy. And we're going to go on many walks and have many frolicking adventures together.
Or if you come with me to some of them.
That's true. I will be coming with
her grandparents, Graham and Paul.
And I get to travel a decent amount myself for work, so
can't really. It's not a competition.
Marriage is not a competition, and that is one of the big lessons among many that we've learned 5+ years into it. Getting back to the photography, what you do with Easterday Creative, and this can be just in general with when it comes to creativity and stuff you enjoy doing, but who are some of your biggest inspirations or what inspires you on a daily basis? Like, who do you look to and you say, that's what I strive to be, or just their whole journey has been very encouraging to me?
Well,
I'm sure there's a lot of people, but
yeah, I guess I'm not a person that idolizes other humans, because I have found that we're all Homo sapiens. We all live our own separate lives and have our own separate journeys. And I think all of them are fairly important because we kind of contribute to our society just through existing. But, my parents have always really inspired me to be really hardworking. I really am grateful for that, because one thing that I actually recently talked with my mom about was how grateful I am that they encouraged me to try new things when I was a kid. So if I signed up for a class, I was the kind of person, if I didn't like something or if I didn't catch on to it right away, I got very frustrated. That's my 3-wing, I think, with the Enneagram. I'm a 2-wing 3.
Pause for 1 second. Can you, in 30 seconds, describe what the Enneagram is? Or
no, I can't.
What is your understanding of the Enneagram?
Okay, so the Enneagram it's one of those quote unquote personality tests. However, it's very in depth, kind of going through, it was 9 different distinct personalities, but within those distinct personalities, there are wings that kind of, start to zero in a bit more on somebody's personality. And then there's even more like what your personality is while you're in health or if you're in stress. Isn't it pretty ancient from what I've understood?
Yes, my understanding is that it has a lot of deep historical roots, and that a lot of people have processed through not their own interpretations, but just that there's a lot of different perspectives and disciplines that have come at it from different angles.
Yeah. So, when you talk about what's your number on the Enneagram, some people will do eye rolls because it has become very vogue to talk about that and understand, just kind of similar to how people are very much into, astrology and your, being Scorpio and all of that stuff. But this is a bit different.
Yeah.
And I think really does help be a jumping off point to help someone understand themselves and help them to be healthier and to better relate to the people around them.
Well, and one of the ironies of labeling using the Enneagram is it very clearly is encouraging you to not use these as labels, but just as a guideline to help you gain a deeper understanding.
Yeah, it's a guideline. It's more of a guideline.
Self-awareness context. So you're saying Enneagram, wing 3, and that translates to, I think that's the achiever, because I am an Enneagram 3 with a wing 2, which I believe is the helper. And you're a 2-wing 3. So
yes.
That again keeps things very spicy, but
keeps things so fun.
But so you were saying in terms of inspirations, your parents and encouraging you,
right?
And because you have that 3-wing.
Because I have that 3-wing, when I don't feel like I'm successful at something right away, it's not easy for me to want to stick with it. But what I appreciated about my parents is not only did they encourage me to try new things, they also taught me to stick with something even if it was difficult. So I would always have to complete the class or stick with it for a year. So, I tried things like karate. I played piano for a very long time because I really enjoyed that. I was in drama in school. I played basketball from, kindergarten or first grade through junior year. I decided to quit after junior year because I wanted to focus more on being in musicals.
You should have kept playing. Otherwise, you may have actually beat me one-on-one when we played when we were dating.
Whatever. I'm glad that I didn't continue to play.
Still salty about that, huh?
Actually, I forgot about it until you just brought it up.
Okay.
I'm
Back to the competition
I'm not
thing.
a scorekeeper like you.
Touche.
So, yeah, no, I'm glad I stopped because my body would be more destroyed than it is right now. But yeah, so I'm grateful for them. Honestly, I'm always inspired by other small business owners. Just, I acknowledge more so now that it's not easy. It looks easy. And maybe some people on the outside seem like they're having, less difficulties, less obstacles to being successful, but social media is a big fat liar and you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes most of the time. Even if people are sharing like, so this is what's happening today on our stories and things like that. I mean, people can be as honest as they can, but in order to be really genuine and authentic, you really need to have the interpersonal relationships with people in front of your face. So
for sure. As a business owner yourself, what have been some of your biggest challenges?
Just learning the business side of things. I know that sounds silly. So, I mean, being a photographer, being a photographer, I think really fits me well because I'm pretty evenly right and left brained. It just kind of makes sense. There's a structure to photography while also being able to be very creative and like going with the flow and all of that. But I've found with the challenges with owning a business, I just, you don't know what to do with taxes. Making sure you're sticking to a budget is really difficult sometimes. There's just those back end things that were unfamiliar to me because I've just not had to do that. So this past year, back in the fall, we decided to get a bookkeeper, which has significantly helped us kind of stay on track with our business, which has been great.
Yeah. What would you say have been some of your victories as a business owner?
The fact that I'm still even in business because, I forget what rate it was. You can fact check me. You can be kind of crazy and do a little asterisk fact check at the end of this podcast. But
part of the downfall to us both listening to so many podcasts is the temptation to, without thinking, maybe borrow segments. I'm not
borrowing. I'm just saying I don't remember numbers.
No. I know you're not.
We'll
saying
put it in the comments section.
If we did a fact check, that would be a little bit armchair expert-y at the end of it, which I love armchair expert.
We can put it in the caption with the podcast.
Yeah,
okay.
True.
Anyway, it's a pretty high percentage of companies, small businesses failing or closing within 2 years. Like it's very high number of them closing after 2 years. So the fact that I've made it to 4 is pretty exciting. And I just see growth happening. Maybe, having to pivot to doing something a little bit different because we've not had as many wedding inquiries in the last 6 months, which is totally
hint,
fine.
Listeners.
Oh, no hint. It's just
okay.
given,
Okay.
It'd be great, but also it's taught me to be more flexible and to, learn to go towards something different. So if this aspect of the business isn't working, kind of transitioning to something different. So that's why in the past, year, I've been trying to work toward communicating with small business owners as well to really work with them with their branding photography, but also, helping them establish a brand identity through their logo, website design, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. One of the questions that I think about a lot in relation to any field, any industry, what someone does for a job or what they do for fun, I think that there's always lessons that we learn along the way. I think that we have experiences for ourselves, but also in part so that we can be able to pass on wisdom and advice and some of our experience to other people, because we're all at different starting points. For example, with this podcast, I've had to lean on and have been very appreciative of so many friends out there that know so much more about this stuff, that have been willing to help me out and give advice and give feedback and answer questions. And so when it comes to what you've done with Easterday Creative, photography, all that stuff, this doesn't just have to be one thing, but maybe draw from experiences of talking with photographers that are just starting out, or interactions you've had with people that are at a different stage than you. What are some things in general you've learned that you try to communicate to others to try and help them?
I always encourage, I guess we'll just say photographers, new photographers, when they're starting out, to learn, like take every chance they can to learn and go to well-established learning opportunities. So not just going to those, not like crapping on the photographer retreats, but some of them are just to kind of, it just feels like it's a way to just boost egos and whatever. But there's some really good ones out there where it is aimed toward learning not just how to be a photographer, but how to run a business and all of that. So I really appreciate going to the Hybrid Co. conference. This will be my second year going. You learn a lot. Like, you have the opportunity to do styled shoots, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is really working on your brand, how to be a good person in what you're doing, and all of that. So always be willing to learn. Never think you have it all figured out, because I know I don't, and I'm always trying to communicate with people who are either ahead of me or in the same stage as I am, or sometimes even talking with people who've been doing it for less time. They may have a good take on it because they haven't been in the business as long, and they may have a fresh perspective. So,
yeah, for sure. I only had one more question, really, that I had written down. I try to keep the amount of questions I had written down to a minimum, because, we are married. If we can't communicate without a list of questions, and what are we really doing here? So the last question I had for you that I wrote down is, and you might have to think about this one more in depth than any of the other questions I've asked, but in your opinion, how handsome am I on a scale of 1 to 10?
it's a trap.
So you didn't answer the question. Totally skipped over it with the Admiral Akbar Star Wars reference, which, look, I appreciate Star Wars references as much as the next person, and we can leave it at that if you don't want to put a number to it. Maybe number was the wrong way to go. Maybe you can just describe using words what you think of me and how much you love me.
Your 3 is really coming out right now.
Am I trying really hard to achieve your love?
Yes.
All right. That's true.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
You really don't have to answer. I'm mainly joking around.
A million.
Yes. So that actually, I wrote down kind of a multiple choice what the correct answer would be, and that was the correct answer. So,
well, I am really smart.
You win $1 million. Congrats.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. No, as we kind of wrap up here, I really do. I know we're married, and I know that, communicating is something we do on a daily basis, but I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today, just in a different format, to kind of hear how you're thinking and feeling more in depth about some of these things. And it's been really fun to just dialogue with you, and it's fun to be able to do this in a podcast format, to kind of let people in on our conversations a little bit, and to hopefully communicate things that are helpful or inspiring to other people, that just helps them see a different perspective, or maybe realize that they're not alone in something. I think that's a really big reason that we want to sit down and chat, and this certainly won't be our last conversation on this podcast.
You'll have me back?
You did well enough today that I think, I don't want to get ahead of myself, I think you could be a regular guest on this podcast.
What about a co-host?
Or a co-host would work too. But I just think it's really important for all of us to realize that we're not alone in whatever our experiences are, what we're going through, or what our hopes and dreams are. And I think it's really cool that we get to chat about life and about whatever, so that in addition to learning stuff, hopefully there's some folks out there that feel like they're less alone in whatever they're going through or experiencing.
Indeed.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap it up, this is what is, as being the big fan of podcasts that we are, this is what would be the promotional part of the episode. So what do you have to promote? What do you want to promote?
I mean, it would be great if you followed me on social media. I post a lot of the really cool clients that I get to work with. On Instagram, it's at Easterday Creative. On Facebook, it's Easterday Creative. And then if you need photography for your business or an elopement, wedding, whatever you could possibly think of. Actually, I'm talking with somebody about doing a Will and Grace themed photo shoot.
That sounds fun.
Yes, that would be so much fun. I love editorial type work. Just reach out to me at easterdaycreative.com. Check out my work. Get to know kind of me a little bit more. You can tell I love talking about myself, so it would be easier if you just see what I wrote down.
Was that sarcasm?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't like talking about myself. This is fun. But yeah, just connect with me. I will respond to you. If you're nice. If you're mean, I'll probably hide. But yeah.
And not to embarrass you, but to embarrass you.
Great.
I second all of that. I agree with all of that because you are objectively an incredibly talented photographer in person and have many, many 5-star reviews, and people, I'm just filled with so much pride every time I hear your past clients and customers talk about how much they've enjoyed working with you and how much they've appreciated your services. And something that I've always told you that I think is really cool about what you do is you are with people at some of the most important parts of their lives, some of the most important moments in their lives.
It's really intimate sometimes. Not in like, you know what I mean? Like it's intimate moments on wedding days when you are alone with the bride and groom, or, groom and groom, bride and bride. When you're alone with the couple where literally no one else is after they've been married, that's a very intimate moment. You're capturing that for them. Trying to be stealthy. Oftentimes I've had people like, I didn't even realize you were there to capture that. It's because, well, first of all, it is surprising because I'm 5'10" and it's hard to not see me. But my goal is to really kind of be stealthy because those are moments that you probably will forget a little bit because of the chaos of the day. So it's always fun.
Yeah, and it's just so important that you capture all those types of moments for people, and you're giving them memories that are going to last a lifetime. And I just think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on the EasterPod. So how do you feel about our first episode together?
Super duper, as Barney would say. Sorry.
I love you.
You love me.
We are married Easter days. I don't know how the rest of the song goes.
It's okay. All right. We're 30.
Well, we're clearly at the portion of the podcast where we have nothing left to say. So again, thank you so much to my lovely and amazing, beautiful, talented wife. All the adjectives and superlatives for Megan Easterday. Be sure to check out Easterday Creative on social media at Easterday Creative, easterdaycreative.com. I highly encourage you, if you're looking for a photographer, to hire Megan because she's incredible and she will do a great job of capturing the important moments in your life. Maybe that could be our new tagline. We'll workshop it. Maybe not.
Stop trying to change things.
Okay, you're right. That's fair. But thank you so much, Megan. Thank you to everybody for listening into this conversation. And yeah, we will talk to you later.